Welcome to Amazing World Channel.
The Prime Minister is expected to make an open and generous cash offer to the EU in an attempt to end the deadlock in Brexit negotiations, which would see Britain potentially parting with Euros 20 billion. The offer would mean the European Union would not have to alter its current budget, meaning no other EU members would lose out over the apparent proposal of a two-year transitional agreement. Theresa May will outline the full details in a speech in Florence, Italy on Friday, after briefing her cabinet on what she will say during a 2.5-hour meeting with them. Mr. Martin, the chairman of pub chain JD Wetherspoon and a high-profile Brexiteer, said there was no need for a two-year transitional deal, because it could potentially give Remainers ammo to mount further anti-Brexit attacks. BBC News Brexit News. Theresa May's speech is a partial step to remain in the EU, warns Tim Martin. It's a partial step to not leaving the EU. That's how I see it. Tim Martin speaking to BBC News. Mr. Martin claimed World Trade Organization rules are the best thing for the UK to go for, adding the EU does much of its global trade underneath the organization's terms. That works for our relationships with America, China, India and so on, he said. That's also the basis of how the EU trades with all of these countries. The EU has never done a trade deal with a big economy. Close quote. Commenting on the rumored content of Mrs. May's speech, Mr. Martin said, "I'm depressed by what I've heard about a two-year transition period and paying money to the EU. We've been told that the government lawyers say there is no legal basis for paying, and a two-year transition deal takes you to 2021. That's 5 years after the referendum." Hilary Benn saying stay within the single market and the customs union, so I think 5 years is quite a long time. If everything goes wrong in the economy before then, all the Remainers will say this is because of Brexit. It's a partial step to not leaving the EU. That's how I see it. Close quote. Conservative MP Peter Bones suggested it should be the EU paying Britain to leave the EU instead. September 13, 2017. He told Sky News any divorce bill will be too much for me, because we've paid in net to the European Union £200 billion. So, if there's going to be any divorce bill, which is a very strange idea, is that it should be to us. Obviously the European Union, have a huge trading surplus with us, so they need to do a deal with us far more than we need to do a deal with them. I wouldn't be paying them anything for access to their markets. I think it would be ludicrous. The people who would be penalized the most would be the EU, and we would not be penalized in any way the same way.